became very clear to us at some point that telling the story of each of those crimes was not enough, and that we needed to look at them holistically, to look at those crimes one after the other, but in a much more integrated way, because that story is different from the individual crime story, and that story is much more scary, is much more serious and grave. Each of those crimes, when you look at them in throughout the last 14 months, have been repeated. They have cumulative effect. Their impact are integrated. And the conclusion that emerged from that full picture is that Israel has committed the crime of genocide, and in particular, that it has perpetrated 3 acts prohibited under the Genocide Convention: killings, causing bodily harm, and deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about the destruction of the Palestinians in Gaza. We have also, as you pointed out, demonstrated that the evidence we gathered could only lead to one reasonable conclusion, which is that Israel intended to destroy Palestinians in Gaza. And yes, it is complicated because we are in the middle of an armed conflict, and Israel, of course, has military objectives. But the military objectives, including that of getting rid of Hamas, should not cloud our thinking and our analysis. And when we considered the evidence that we gathered, it emerged very clearly that this evidence could not be explained by the military objectives and could only be explained by genocidal intent. And this is why we have reached the conclusion that Israel has committed and is committing the crime of genocide against Palestinian people in Gaza. We have plenty of evidence demonstrating that civilians' homes, Palestinians' homes have been destroyed, Palestinian lives killed without any kind of Hamas presence or military necessity. This kind of deliberate targeting of civilians have been repeated for the last 14 months. We have documented the use of very large weapons, very large bombs with huge destruction radius. Again, these kind of bombs in an urban setting can only have one particular objective, which is to inflict the greatest number of casualties on civilians.